Okay, well, thank you so much, Lee, for joining me here today. I really appreciate it. You're from Switch River, and I'd love for you to just start off with a little bit about what you guys do and how you got started.
So the way I describe Switch River is I provide digital strategy. So and I may joke about it a little bit too much, but I'm not the guy who does the work, but I am the man with the plan. So I work with businesses to help them pull together a digital strategy that addresses both the digital marketing, the external piece, but also how that integrates internally. I think one of the really kind of exciting bits that I like to do is to actually help integrate the online with the offline and to make sure that that works seamlessly. So look at customer journeys, look at all the usual suspects of websites and how they're converting and what the customer journey looks like, how the customer flow works, have a look at SEO, have a look at the PPC and all the different components of email marketing, and just to make sure that really no stone is left unturned, digitally speaking.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of your customers and the people that you kind of deal with usually, do you have an ideal customer, or is it really any business that really needs to look at their digital strategy?
Yeah, I mean, it is every business. I mean, first off, every business needs to look at it. You know, whether it's me or someone else, it absolutely needs to be something that's looked at. I think there's there's certainly a lot of noise around tactics and digital tactics, but really where the important part is around having that plan to pull everything together. Businesses that I typically work with, they don't have a marketing director, right? Like that's one of the easy ways for me I identify who my ideal client is, and who have a really strong leadership team, generally very strong in sales, delivering a really quality product or service, but don't have that marketing function to really take it to the next level.
Interesting. And in terms of the biggest kind of, would you say that's the biggest mistake that businesses tend to do, like not hiring a not hiring a marketing manager, or not really giving that area as the concentration and attention that it deserves? Do you feel that it's more common for people to focus on other areas, like you've mentioned, sales, rather than that whole area?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of the challenges that a lot of businesses have is they're very good at what they do. One of obviously the strongest ways to build out business is through referrals, right? And that doesn't matter the scale or size of the business, but referrals are always going to be one of those really good, solid lead generation activities. But alongside that, there tends to be a little bit of neglect around broadening that. We think of word of mouth as just being literally one person to another, but what word of mouth can be is actually digitally accelerated. And that's the whole marketing piece. And I think that's probably where a lot of businesses don't have a plan in place to tie in what their marketing activities are that are going to feed into the sales, that are going to feed into building the brand, feed into building the business.
I mean, definitely. And in terms of the kind of progression that you've seen over the last couple of years, I'd love to focus on the impacts of COVID-19 for a second. Did you see any common patterns in between businesses and business owners and their digital strategies, or anything that you kind of noticed during that 2-year period, and how things changed since everything's kind of come to a sort of semi-close?
Yeah, it's been really interesting because there are some people who have looked at the business and decided actually they understand that now it's really, really important to make sure that it's got a really strong digital arm. But it hasn't been everyone. There's still some business owners out there who don't fully understand that having a really well converting website, and that's not necessarily just the e-commerce websites that, selling widgets, but actually converting visitors on the website into potential leads, potential customers, and actually being able to bring them through that funnel. There's still some business owners who haven't twigged on it. And I think part of that is because we've gone through this bit of a bounce where there was a challenge, a lot of the big chunk of businesses who very early on during the pandemic decided, you know what, we need to turn things around and let's ramp things up how we do it digitally. And let's open up that as a service area. There was a certain segment that could just continue, fortunately. And then that other third segment who didn't really grab hold of the opportunity and now feel, certainly the conversations I'm having, sound like they're a little bit lost, as if they've almost missed the boat. Unfortunately, they haven't. right? Because like it's like that saying, right? The best time to plant a tree was 40 years ago. The next best time is today. Digital is exactly the same.
Well, I mean, that's definitely good news. I think I feel like now that technology is kind of like really, I mean, it's dominated the space for so long, and I feel like especially with the young generations, so many people are kind of aware of the benefits and the uses and the advantages it can have really being switched on and savvy with tech. And in terms of the websites and everything, obviously I know that a lot of people, they hear, like you said, they hear a lot of things on LinkedIn maybe, or within their social media things about people talking about things like SEOs, but no one really ever explaining it properly to them or in a way that really is just easy to digest. If there's anything that you can kind of give business owners in this interview, like just a piece of advice or something in terms of kind of getting a bit more savvy with their digital strategies, what would that be?
Pick your lane. That's the big piece of advice I probably go into, very early on in conversations with a lot of businesses, is understanding which of the lane is theirs. And part of that is having a look at whether that's social media, and understanding, if for instance LinkedIn is the primary channel, right, or perhaps it's it's Instagram, but making sure that aligns with not just the business and where your clients live, but also what those internal resources are you have to be able to support it. And it's also making sure that if it's social that's your lane, that's absolutely fab, but maybe it might be SEO, and that needs to be where the focus is, where competing on natural search, that might be where the really biggest win is. But picking one of those lanes, really owning that space, and then branching out to the other channels, to make sure you've got a full coverage marketing strategy, but actually making sure that which your lane is, what your strength is, and really honing in on that.
Definitely. Is there a trick, or is there a way that people can really find their lane? I think one of the main, I mean, in my personal experience and along with other business owners that I've seen, it's so common to just kind of try and cover all bases at once, and then obviously give each one like 15-20%, but obviously nothing's ever going to be excellent. How do you find your lane, the one that fits, right?
So sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not so easy. I mean, one of the tricks is having a look at what skills already exist in the business and what the business tends to default to. And you can find this out by looking at emails. One of the indicators, and it may sound like a little bit of a silly one, is, but do people use screenshots in emails when they email each other internally? Well, that probably indicates there's a higher visual identity within the company, and that might lend itself a little bit better to promoting itself on social media. If there's a really high analytical skill throughout the business, that might present itself with a huge reliance on data analytics, using Excel every chance they get. And in that case, that might lend itself a little bit more to the SEO aspect, which is, very much analytics and data is required across the full platform. But you tend to see that there's more alignment with data and analysis based businesses and that strength, and actually being successful on search through natural search engine optimization.
Brilliant. And I'm sure there's going to be so many people who are listening to this and they're like, oh my gosh, like obviously I feel like I mean, like I mentioned before, it's such a huge thing. Maybe people can be a little bit overwhelmed, but having that little bit of guidance and understanding, and even if they're listening to this and they understand, if they're like, oh no, I can see that. Yeah, we do send a lot of screenshots. I send a lot of like voice messages. Like there's lots of different things in terms of communication or each person's style that may come out. But brilliant. In terms of Switch River's kind of progress over the last couple of years and what you've seen and what you've experienced, what has been your biggest learnings?
I would probably say the biggest learning is all around, it's probably around that lane piece. Whereas I certainly come in from quite a high level, and take the that 50,000 foot view. But actually over the past couple of years, it's really honing in on understanding which of those lanes can be leveraged, and really having that as a key focus for pushing within each of my clients' businesses to understand which of those pieces are going to give us most traction, and get us most leverage, and then building around that piece.
Brilliant. In terms of what the future looks like for Switch River and everything that you guys have been doing up to now, what does that look like?
Do you know, more of the same, which is great. You know, helping businesses to get those plans in place. You know, I function very much as a it's not delivering all of the services. It's about bringing in different partner agencies, bringing in different service providers, and doing almost it's like a digital matchmaker. And that's certainly the piece that's going to continue to happen, and just continue to expand. The number of partners I work with, the number of service providers I bring on board, will only increase.
Yeah, amazing. And in terms of that, like, how can people kind of get in touch with you, find you in terms of advice and things? Like, where can people kind of touch base?
Definitely say, you know, hook up with me on LinkedIn. Certainly, I'm one of the big pieces I do is I do a fair bit of networking as well. So I'm certainly around about Liverpool networking events. Love to meet in person, but definitely hooking up on LinkedIn is probably the best way to get in touch.
Okay, brilliant. I'm just conscious of time, but best advice for young entrepreneurs in your personal experience, in your business life, in your career. Can you sum up any like perfect piece of inspirational advice for a young, let's say 18, 90-year-old entrepreneur looking to start their own business?
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, the whole just do it, I think is probably everyone would say, but I would also say along with that is actually take note and measure it. So take note of what you're doing, do the activity, but actually take a notice of what the impact has, of every activity you do. You know, that, yes, be happy to fail and make lots of mistakes, but make sure you're measuring what the impact is. Make sure what you've got an idea of what's working for you, what's not working for you. So then you can at least fail in the right direction.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Lee. I appreciate your time here today.
Thank you very much. It's been great talking to you.
See you soon. Thank you.
Thanks.